During the winter, I get really dry eyes.
How dry are your eyes right now?
They're if you put an orange out in the sunshine and left it there for a day, that's probably how dry the eyes are.
So it's shriveled up orange.
Yeah, 2 shriveled oranges, or what are they called? Satsumas.
I mean, it sounds like a real Cross Bear.
Krista Burr.
I love some Krista Burr. Sing us a Krista Burr song.
Never seen you looking so lovely as you did tonight.
Allaby Bedders in bits.
Welcome to In Bits with Allaby Bedders from Ideal Noise Studios in London. I'm Matt Allaby.
I'm Bedders.
How are you, Bedders?
I'm very well, Matt. We're back on the Negronis again, aren't we? Cheers.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers to
and
that.
we're ready for a wonderful 10th edition of the In Bits podcast.
Strap yourself. Yeah, congratulations on the 10th anniversary. 10th anniversary?
10th month anniversary?
Show?
10th
Whatever
show,
you want to call it.
Whatever. I'm happy to have made it this far.
Yeah, man.
We're going to have a Christmas special,
Yeah, we're
going to
have a Christmas special.
We've
I'm looking forward to
discussed
that. Yeah.
And then what we're going to do is a best of, and then we'll see what happens in the new year.
Yeah. New year, new me.
Yeah.
And you.
Let's see. We've only planned till the end of the year, so...
Yeah.
Before we go any further, mate, I just want to mention that you should be able to now hear this podcast on iTunes and Stitcher and other sort of podcast apps. If you do listen to it on iTunes, please give us comments, reviews.
Exactly, yeah.
Whatever it is that you do. I'm not sure. I don't use iTunes. But if you do use iTunes and listen to this pod, then come on. You should be helping us out with some 5-star reviews or not, but preferably 5 stars. Now, Mark, who've we just had on the old Skype interview?
Oh, my God. We've just had the pleasure of interviewing, for me, one of the all-time greats, Tristan.
He's definitely up there, the all-time heavy hitters on the trance scene, isn't he?
I say for me, like I'm individual there, like for everyone.
For everyone.
For one of the all-time greats, Tristan. And what a pleasure it was.
What a beautiful interview it was.
Oh, my God.
And we didn't know how long we were going to have him for, what, time permitting and all that, how long the interview was going to be. But it turns out we got a lot. So we're probably going to dedicate the show to Tristan. And why not?
I think so.
Because it's very rare you're going to interview someone who's that kind of present and that aware of themselves, their surroundings, that kind of knowledge of the scene. And
he's literally been from almost day dot with it all, hasn't he?
He has, but it's not just that. He's got that experience, but he's able to talk about it.
Articulates his points amazingly.
Brilliant, and in a very charming and just present way. Yeah. So probably the next few links are going to be the interview with Tristan and
I'd say most of the show.
Most of the show, and I'm sure they'll enjoy it because we really enjoyed it, and he enjoyed being interviewed as well. We all had a great time.
We've got some exciting. We've got an exclusive from Tristan in terms of music as well.
Yes, we've got an unreleased track from Tristan,
and also. Matt, what else have we got?
We've got bloody world exclusive, Mark.
Oh my God, this is actually quite big. We're not even joking here. I know we're normally jokey, but
I think Mark was trying to doubt my pulling power.
I wasn't doubting it. I was trying to push you like a supportive parent.
We've been talking. Let's get Tristan on the show, and maybe let's get an exclusive from Captain Hook's new album. Nothing concrete was happening for a couple of weeks, but all of a sudden, the last couple of days, look what we got. So we're going to play a track from Captain Hook's new album Origin, which is released 29th of November this month on Aboga Records. And I think, I don't know, unless I could talk about how I've been ill for the last 7 days.
You've been ill. You've moved house.
Which is my voice might sound a bit gravelly and weird on this show.
It's a bit weird. My voice is normally quite squeaky, but I think today my voice has gone a slight octave lower.
I mean, you're sounding absolutely delicious.
I have a chocolatey voice that could do all sorts of advertising for those people listening out there that work for marketing companies.
Right, Mark, let's put a track on and make love. Because I am turned on. What are we going to play, Mark?
We're going to play a track from the wonderful psychedelic progressive trance label Xenon Records. This track is from ETN. It's called All Over.
It's a beauty. Let's have a listen.
Let's do a balloon.
All right.
Yeah.
Here he is.
Yes.
That sounds good.
Yeah?
Can you hear us okay? Well, you hear me okay?
Oh, yeah, clear as a bell, yeah.
Mark's just sorting the drinks out.
Yeah, me too. I thought, damn it, if you're having one, I'm opening a bottle of
Hey,
red.
Tristan's having a drink.
What are you having, mate?
What are you having?
Baby sham?
A very nice French friend of mine has come over with a very tasty Côte d'Iron.
Yeah.
Excellent. Right, I've got a glass of red.
Beautiful.
Yes, my love.
All right, here's your intro. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome one of the most recognizable and loved artists on the psychedelic trance scene. Always reliable for creating the big moments at psychedelic festivals and parties around the world. He's one of the most infectious and respected humans in trance. Mushroom Magazine's Man of the Year 2005, 2016, and runner-up 2018. A man carved out of marble by the gods themselves. An all-around bloody good bloke. It's Tristan, everybody.
Hey.
Woo! Welcome to the show.
Welcome, Tristan.
This is actually Dick Trevor. You've got the wrong guy. No, I'm joking.
All right, mate. How you doing, Dickie?
Well, that's a very nice big up. Thank you very much.
You're more than welcome.
Very happy to speak to you guys.
I've known you probably for 20 years or something now.
Bloomin' hell, mate. A very long time since you were doing your sunrise parties in Manchester, yeah?
That's right. I mean, I've mentioned this on
in the 90s, in the mid to late 90s, yeah. Long time.
I've mentioned on the podcast as well that you kind of held my hand when I sort of entered onto this scene and sort of guided me through those first few months.
Well, I recognise the talent very, very soon.
You certainly do.
There's a man. There's a man who shows a lot of promise.
And actually,
didn't you just?
Thank you, mate. And actually, when I was talking to you on the phone just 10 minutes ago, you were about to pay me a bit of a compliment. Could you repeat that, please? It was something about you playing my track, ADE or something.
Well, actually, okay, I was at the ADE in Amsterdam, Amsterdam Dance Music event, and I was with Rick Town from GMS. We got a houseboat, and he very kindly hosted us there, and we were having a bit of an after party.
He's got a houseboat?
And he's got a houseboat. They all, canals. And the best place to have a party on the water in Amsterdam. It's amazing. And anyway, we were there at, I don't know, 10 in the morning. He's like, Trezor, put on your best favorite trance tune of all time. And I was like, whoa. No pressure then. And Dick Trevor, who happened to be there as well, all the Nano guys were there, goes, what about Spiritually Correct then?
Yes.
Nice.
Allaby, by yours truly.
Yes.
So we dug it out and we whacked it on and we were dancing around the place.
Sick.
It was awesome.
Fantastic.
That's cool.
Yeah. Also one of the funniest and, one of the best track titles of all time as well.
Oh, thank you very much.
Given the nature of our scene.
Did it hold up? Did it sound all right?
Oh, it did. Well, it did. Well, that's the funny thing, isn't it? That's like you listen to that old stuff and you kind of remember it as it was then, but you forget how much it's moved on in the context of current. Yeah, but it really did. And what I noticed was how trance music back then really was more kind of hypnotic and trancey, less breaks, less build-ups. It was all about building the tension.
Well, this is something that I wanted to talk about. I've got it in my my list of things. Like I was going to get into it a bit later, but now seems like a good time to get into it. Just how it's changed over the last 20 years. And as someone who comes from that original scene, playing those super deep DJ sets that we used to watch you play on a weekly basis, and what is your feeling now about how it's sort of how it compares? Because I mean, do you still get to do those kind of deep sets? Because I mean, I see obviously a lot, and I play those gigs myself, where it seems a little bit more. The scene more
instantly people want instant gratification,
and the dancing has changed. There's a lot of jumping and shouting,
very very intense jumping going on.
Which
yeah. Well, do you know what people post a lot of those videos that they might post an unfair kind of amount of those videos compared to how many of those parties there are, because they make great YouTube
they really do
content
with the
and
drone.
You look at that and you go, holy crap, that crowd's going
it's really pumping.
that guy must be really good. And in fact, there are just certain territories around the world where people kind of go slightly more ape than others.
Okay.
And so, yeah, there is that kind of breakdown drop feeling. But I'd say there has been a renaissance in the whole Goa psychedelic movement in the last 10 years, which has stemmed from Goa, Shiva Valley, Hilltop, the underground scene that came up there. Suddenly there was a whole new vibe of music, and it was back to the core.
Yep.
Possibly, when I say the core values, less melody, like the original Goa trance, very melodic,
proper
but it would be hypnotic and no breaks. It would just kind of crack on endlessly, spiraling into a vortex of unstoppable peak energy, which is what I'd say makes psytrance different from all the other dance music genres, is the peak experience that we're trying to achieve.
What is it then? And sorry, go on.
So I'll say then that now there's this kind of genre of the nighttime, which has spilled over into the daytime. So the whole genre has become more psychedelic.
Yeah.
That it's about losing the breaks, losing the breakdowns, letting the music just keep rolling and keep building. So it's kind of come full circle again. So, you know, it comes ebbs and flows, but where the music is at right now, I think is fantastic. It's I would say it's as good as it's ever been.
What is it then that because I've got a specific sort of set of points in my mind what makes a piece of music psychedelic. You know, I mean, what is it for you that makes psytrance psychedelic as opposed to something like for example, I think hypnotic music comes from just repetition. Personally, and that's what makes it psychedelic for me personally. You know, what is it that makes it psychedelic for you?
Gradual changes.
The difference is, like, let's say, like rave music onwards, the whole thing that happened in '88, and 90, whatever, and early '90s. I know you were there, but just to be part of that dance music revolution, acid house, ecstasy, drum and bass, techno house, whatever. The kind of underlying thing was. It was repetitive beats. All of it is using machines. I used to be a drummer. When I discovered dance music, I threw away my drumsticks. It's like, wow, these drum machines can do it better than I ever will, and they're a hell of a lot louder as well. And that's brilliant. So a lot of dance music generally has got that repetition. And the distinction I'd make is the difference between hypnotic, narcotic, and psychedelic.
Right.
Lots of other dance music genres are hypnotic and narcotic.
Right.
Okay. They're good to listen to on drugs.
Yeah.
But the thing about psytrance, it's particularly good to dance and to listen to on LSD.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's what makes it unique. And I would say is these sounds, and I'd also say a lot of dance music genres have different. To not get too technical about it, but the bass plays such a massive part on the repetitive. It's the bottom end that kind of repeats the kick and the bass.
Yeah.
The psytrance, there's a particular shape of bass, shape of sound wave that we use, and that is a sawtooth.
Sure.
And that is the most harmonically rich of the basic sawtooths, which are sine wave, square wave, sawtooth, and triangle wave. Getting really nerdy here, but drum and bass uses a sine wave, a nice clean sub. Dubstep uses a square wave,
which is more harmonically rich sine wave, if you like.
Which is very harmonically rich as well, and we use a sawtooth. So there's something about the texture
of that.
Punchy.
There's more punch in a sawtooth, and it hits more in the chest on the bass than it does on
and
like
it's
a
got
sine
a twang.
wave. Exactly. Yeah.
It's got a twang to it, ding, digga, ding, digga, ding, digga, ding, because we have a very repetitive bass line.
Yeah.
That's where the repetition happens really, really quickly. And I always kind of thought, when you're kind of in a psychedelic state and you get your fingers and you wave them in front of your eyes and you get this kind of echo effect of your fingers that carry on long after your hand has passed your face.
Yeah.
That kind of thing of the bass line going ding, digga, ding, digga, ding, digga, ding is kind of an echoing tracer effect of the bass line. It can be very, very psychedelic in itself. So there's something about the bottom end in itself, the bass line, the texture, the way the sound that we use that makes that psychedelic. But it's the top end, the noises. Now, Goa trance used to be very melodic, heavily influenced by Eastern melodies,
Eastern scales,
because that had that kind of it had that kind of mystical essence to it.
Yeah.
And exoticness, and anything that's the unknown and those uncharted territories that make you feel like a
spices, everybody.
Yeah, potpourri. And,
namaste.
So there was a lot of that in our style. But now, for me, what really kind of turns me on sonically is creating noises that people have never heard before. Sonic textures that sound like alien conversations,
alien noises,
that have been downloaded from another dimension. Because if you hear a certain noise, a certain melody, whatever, over and over again in lots of tunes, you become tolerant to it. The first time you hear something or taste a new, flavor, or, see, whatever it is, amazing sunset on the beach in Goa the first time. By the end of the season, it's still mind-blowing. You have seen it quite a few times. So it's about creating something new, pushing into new uncharted territory sonically, because that gives you this kind of cosmic, out-of-body, esoteric kind of sensation. Experience, exactly. So that's what makes it psychedelic for me. And I think there are other dance music genres that do that. Tipper, for example, the squelchy West Coast dubsteppy sounds. Some of that is really wet and liquidy and very psychedelic. So it's not exclusive to our genre, but you kind of see where I'm headed.
Yeah,
that's what makes it psychedelic.
Yeah,
I mean, you've managed to. I will say that you've managed to keep a kind of Tristan imprint to your sound throughout. I mean, the recent track, the Summer Solstice, we played on the podcast last month. That has Tristan percussion on it. I've been hearing that percussion for decades. And and also that grinding lead, which the first time you came to my studio, you taught me how to make that. It was something to do with LFO to the pulse width with a square wave shape. Something nice and nerdy like that. To give you that rip. Yeah. And what are you?
Well, it's funny you should say that, is because here's the kind of the paradox of exactly contradicting what I've just said, and that's about new, creating new sounds.
But there has to be some imprint. From your past. There has to be. It's important.
Yeah. But so it's all about the kind of there's very much nuance as well of taking iconic, archetypal psytrance sounds that are tried and tested, that rip and give you that full total harmonic distortion sound that fill the sonic spectrum and give you this warm, uplifting, euphoric psychedelic feeling. So you got to keep that. You don't just ditch. In this quest for newness, you don't ditch everything that works.
I think
you just add to the palette of colors.
Yeah.
So let me just say then, I'd say what I've tried to do, you're kind enough to say, is like maybe a signature sound, an idiosyncrasy. Yeah. And I'll tell you why exactly that is, because the experience that I'm trying to create for people is the experience that I had on the dance floor on a large dose of LSD myself. The essence of what I'm trying to do to people when they listen to my music has not changed a single wavelength from that original motivation. So that is the constant.
That's brilliant.
That will never change.
Well, that's a great answer. But that's where the interest lies for me, is actually taking something that's well known and possibly something from a different scene and blending that with something brand new. For me, it's not just
keeping
about everything new. Yes, I want something that people recognize or something, and then
you can't change. You don't
it.
want to change. You don't want to change the genre from outside the ballpark. You've got to knock the walls down from within.
I actually quite like it when someone creates something with an old school feel, but with sort of more modern production.
Exactly. Because it resonates with you, because all those experiences that you've had to that sound all add to that, reminisce, resonate with that experience you've had.
Exactly.
But if they can you're in the same house, but you find a brand new room you never even knew you had.
For sure.
Awesome. And I think that's the kind of the quest for the self exploration, self-discovery is we're trying to find new rooms in our own psyche and our own mind and get to know it. We're trying to know ourselves. Yes. We're trying to evolve.
Constant battle to know ourselves.
I still don't know.
Well, isn't that the whole point of this whole movement?
100%.
Is I'm living a lifestyle, and I've managed to make a living from that lifestyle, thankfully. But that living is kind of living an open, conscious, loving, community-based way of life. And with traveling, incorporating as many cultures and experiences and traveling and beautiful people as you can. And I want to meet, and like musically, you want to meet as many new amazing people. It doesn't 100%. Mean you have to ditch your old friends, right?
No,
it's the same with the music, with the new set.
Depends on the friends.
I'm done. Namaste, guys. I've been out in Kerala, India, in a remote yoga retreat, practicing a new complex move called the Bengal Bonsai Cat. There are no showers on this retreat. I haven't washed for 17 days. Turns out, I got the move slightly wrong. I'm now stuck face to face with my own asshole. Oh God.
Ooh. Mark, we're going to play a tune now.
Let's do it.
And then we'll get back to the Tristan interview.
This is a tune I made with my mate, Paul Uncle.
Yes.
Who's a techno producer. And this is an Allaby track that I made with Paul, and it has an Allaby sound to it, but it's definitely a techno tune. It's slowed down to techno speed, 128.
Yeah.
And it's coming out on the brand new Iboga Tech imprint.
Yeah.
Which is exciting stuff.
It's
They've
really
decided
fucking
to split it off, and they're going to do trance and they're going to do techno, and the techno's going to come out in Iboga Tech.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to be a part of it.
It's really exciting. I've been following Iboga for the past, I guess, sort of 15 years. And I love that kind of tech trance sound now. And I'm really happy they're kind of doing this. And yeah, this is a massive track from you guys.
So let's have a listen. This is I Remember by Allaby and Paul Uncle. Let us know what you think.
Allaby Bedders. Tristan, so I'd like to know, because I've never heard anyone ask you this, where did you start out? I know you played drums, as you mentioned before. When and where did you start DJing, and where did the production start?
I went to university at Warwick. Mm-hmm. And in 1990 to 94, and I discovered raving when I was in Australia in my kind of year off in between school. That was 1988, and in these rap parties, they were called, in the Hordern Pavilion, which is a bit like the
squat party,
Hacienda. No, more like the Hacienda in Manchester, kind of thing, right. But in Sydney. And that was back when they would have transvestites and urban and the gay scene and
sounds wild.
Electronica and 9 Inch Nails and punks and everybody that had just discovered got scooped up into the rave kind of genre. And then I came back to the UK and realized, and I was like, wow, you're never going to believe what's happened. I've been discovered rave. And everyone in England was like, yeah, we've experienced that too, buddy, don't worry.
We're doing it.
And then we were just going mad to raves, as many as we could. And then I was going to the parties and I thought, listening to DJs, I was like, that set's great, but I want to hear more of this sound. You know, forget that. I want to hear this. And me and a mate said, well, okay, let's go out and buy some decks and try and do it. So we bought some Technics BD-SL22s. I don't know how you remember that kind of detail, but they were belt driven.
Yeah,
BD meaning belt driven. The really modern ones are magnets, and as you kind of scratch and you let go of the vinyl, it goes straight up to speed. But with these belt-driven ones, you go...
You get the pitch-up effect.
And it's
a
like
nightmare to control. That's how I learned as well on belt drive decks. It's absolute nightmare.
But when you learn on that, you know, it's like stepping into a Ferrari. So anyway, I was at university at the time, and I was there, and there was... in the year above me, there was this guy called Gavin King, who became Urban Shakedown, and then DJ Aphrodite, who worked with Mickey Finn. He's a big deal. He gave me my first DJ lesson.
Wow,
really?
And and I remember we were just in halls of residence or something. I had my decks, so I'd be just fucking blowing down the whole building with some
sound
shit
speakers
and exactly. Learning how to mix, and it took, it's not an easy thing to do to learn how to mix. Now obviously you can do it with the computer; it will sync it up for you. And then So yeah, started doing that, and then same thing again, playing tunes, loving that bass line, but I don't like it when that percussion comes in. Why did that have to? I want it to do this. Why can't it? And then a mate of mine, Andy Guthrie, and Sonia and Paul Man-Made Man, all in Leamington Spa, which is birthplace of grunge and a lot of musical, a lot of students, a good kind of heavy vibe happening there. They said, well, why don't you try writing some music? So they held my hand, and we bought an Atari and a sampler.
Yeah, heard about the Atari actually. Yeah.
Yeah, 1 meg of RAM, more than you'd ever need. So I bought that, invested in some money, and took it from there. And then it took me 2 years, I think, before I had my first release on Matsuri Records, Gobi Desert, and Matsuri Records number 5, and I think it was in 94, end of 94.
Wow. It's wonderful. Back then, it really took time. You had to save up to buy one piece of equipment, and then months and months of just learning how to do it. And it's, again, everything's so immediate now. You know, you can sort of download a load of presets and stuff like that. Just sort of crack on
it's the best of times and the worst of times, isn't it? Because
it took me about 2 years probably as well. It was a couple of years, you know, sort of entry into it before you can even get a record together almost.
Absolutely, before you can get a piece of music that's releasable.
Yeah.
I mean, it's taken me 25 years to write music that I'm really happy with. I've got to say now is everything can happen on board, and you don't have a studio full of synths and spaghetti cables and MIDI and all this kind of old school stuff. It would be a nightmare, and everything running live.
Yeah.
But now
performing it on the desk, as we used to do.
Yeah, exactly. It was, you would have to perform it.
And the best take, you do it like 5 times or something, and the best take was the one that would you. Or at least
and it would never be the same. You're right, and it would never be the same twice. Now I go endlessly polishing my music until it sounds perfect in my, perfect at that given moment, over and over, record it down. You've got endless hard drive space.
Perfect. I gotta say, and the last track that I heard, it's so fucking loud.
Yeah.
I mean, that's another thing as well.
It's big.
It was the loudest track on the podcast by far. It just jumped out of the speaker.
It was the last track we played as well. Just sent them off.
Oh, good. Well, I'm happy to hear that. That sounds all the kind of things I'd like to hear.
Well, while we're on the studio thing, have you got a current sort of favourite plug-in or piece of studio gear? Do you still use any hardware? Or is it just?
Yeah, I've got a few. I do actually. I've got a few bits of outboard, but I tell you where I'm at right now.
Go on.
And this is for the studio guys as well, and whoever listening, but it's kind of nerdy.
It's all right,
I'm just getting into phase.
Phase, what, on the bass kick or phase as a phaser?
Phase specifically, yeah. So my favourite tools now are kind of oscilloscopes and visual parameters that allow you to see the waveform real time, because then you can get super surgical with getting all your sound waves aligned, and that's how you get it really, really loud.
Phase coherent.
Exactly, resonance instead of cancellation. I
was going to say
exactly.
That.
Yeah.
So that's
a current kind of geeky vibe that I'm on at the moment. But I tell you what, sometimes if you go scratch too deep, it really is a bottomless.
It really is. It's just a rabbit hole of
and
sadness.
Actually, sometimes you need to let go of it all and just write some down.
What about a creative
plugin
or a creative instrument? What are you reaching for a lot at the moment?
Well, Ableton.
Okay, just as a system.
The actual program that I write on, because all the plugins it's got, and actually within the program I can take sound and I can stretch it down to its, I can really tear all the clothes off any sound, and I can take a human vocal and turn it into a landscape, a sonic texture, or a piece of percussion or whatever. So I can use organic sounds and make them sound synthetic, and I can also take synthetic machine-made sounds and make them sound organic. So you get this overlap of machine biology, a bit like Geiger, aural Geiger, and I like the concept of that, because that's kind of quite futuristic and alien style,
Awesome. Tristan, what? Obviously, you've played for over 2 decades now, played many gigs. What is the longest set you've ever played on memory?
The longest kind of public set that I've played,
obviously not bedroom included.
Well, bedroom, we've done like 3 days non-stop with no sleep.
Yeah.
But let's say a public broadcast was Azora 99, the first Solips festival.
Wow.
On stage for 11 hours.
Jesus Christ.
That's a long time.
On vinyl.
On vinyl.
It's like James Monroe. How long was his? 18 hours or something?
I can't remember. James Monroe had a ridiculous one, like in Bahamas
how
or
much
something.
vinyl did you need for that?
Yeah.
Like, a truck.
A-sides, B-sides, and C-sides.
Yeah, that's what he said as well. You find new music that way. Yeah.
That does put into context what Goa Gill does most weekends, is 24-hour sets.
Oh, really?
It's
probably not on vinyl, though. To be fair,
we asked James this question as well. How did you handle toilet duties during that 11-hour set?
What did he say?
James, I think, said put a long track on and then piss in the sea because he was on a beach.
Put a long pair of trousers on. I was going to say,
soak it up, some woolly trousers.
I did a 4-hour set at the Boom this year, and I was a bit nervous beforehand because on the stage they had this kind of desk and then no decor covering the side of the stage, and it was a massive stage. So if you had to leave your booth and walk, you've got to kind of scuttle to the side, down this kind of ladder to the stage, into the toilet, do your thing, and come back up. You can't do that in the middle of a gig that kind of scale. Yeah. But you certainly couldn't pee into a juice jar either because there was no cover.
There's no cover behind the decks.
And I was really nervous because, sometimes I can have a weak bladder. I can go, 3-4 times in an hour if I drink too much beer before the set. I got up there and I didn't even need to go once.
Wow.
Something happened, thank God.
Well done, bladder.
So sometimes you get lucky.
So when you play gigs abroad, you've been away for a while, you come back to London, maybe you're missing the kind of English vibe, maybe you've been to Goa for a month or whatever. What's your go-to English food that you get straight away in the Heathrow sort of shops?
Are you going for a Greg's pasty or are you Marks and Spencer's in the airport?
Maybe a prawn sandwich. What are you going for?
I am incredibly lucky that my wife Vanessa is one of the best cooks on the planet.
And a cook, literally.
And a cook with an E, exactly. Yeah. And you don't eat, not that I eat meat particularly, but you don't eat fast food when you got fillet steak at home, as it were.
Nice, good answer.
Great analogy as well.
I was kind of hoping you'd say a pasty, to be honest.
No, God, no, sorry. No. Let me just add to that.
Go on.
Do you know what, Mark?
Yeah.
Really important. When I go travelling, when I go away, what kind of food from England do I take with me? It's quite an interesting one when you're on the road.
Tag. Are you a Marmite?
Do you know what? I've got this. I don't know if anyone eats the Dorset muesli that you can buy.
Yeah,
like the nutty one.
Yeah, lovely.
Yes, exactly. The nutty one. No
really
raisins.
Good.
Can't stand raisins.
No,
do not like raisins. So I take, like if I go to Azora and you do the caravan, the artist campsite, they'll give you milk and coffee and these sandwiches in the morning. So I take a bit of muesli with me. So they've got the milk and the bowls. So I take my Dorset muesli with me. And if I've had a big night, and you wake up in the morning, you're like, oh God, and it's 40 degrees. I've got my muesli, bit of cold milk, I'm back in the game.
Yeah. Tristan, official sponsor of Dorset cereal.
Of Dorset Nutty Rain. yeah, I'm a nut. Anyway, sorry, carry on.
We wanted to get back to, gigs. Here's a gig question.
Yeah.
Because you've been there at the inception of these scenes that kind of sprout up, Brazil, Japan, Russia, when it first kind of hits in those kind of countries, you've been there at the beginning, and a while back, you must have played for some sort of, sketchy promotions throughout the years. So we were just wondering if there's any sort of, what's the most mafia shit you've ever seen, essentially?
Machine guns and limos.
Some horror stories. Do you know what? Maybe I just blank out the bad experiences, but... By and large, I think the worst thing that happens isn't the kind of really nasty mafia shit. It's the kind of the useless hippie shit.
Right. Okay, that'll do.
Where they just they don't mean to, but they just can't get their shit together.
Right.
And there'll be two drivers supporting the airport shuttle supporting the whole festival, and the guy hasn't slept for 24 hours.
Yeah.
And he's falling asleep at the wheel. That's never happened to me, thank God.
Yeah.
But there's things like that where you get there and there's no drinking water, or you got just bad planning, just guys who mean the best but can't get it together. That can be really distressing if you got the 4th gig in a week in the summer and you've had and you're exhausted and you just want a bit of food and somewhere to get your head down before the gig and there's no tent for you and you're sleeping on a bench.
Oof. We had to take over driving duties once in Brazil because the guy just clearly was on his last legs. He'd been awake for days and we were just like, forget it. We're going to share the driving because you can't do it.
Poor old Ralph Brainsell was in a shuttle to some party and had a crash in the car.
Oh, no. I love Ralphie.
I know.
When was that?
Bit of whiplash. A few months back, yeah. Poor bloke. Couldn't have happened to a nicer guy. So, it does happen. But generally, trance people, they mean well. The scene is full of lovely people, not gangsters. That's why we're in it, isn't it?
Exactly.
Do you know what? There's no... And there's no corporate sponsorship at these parties. There's very few events that I play where there's a Heineken banner or and we ours is a kind of a subculture. It's a niche. It's under the radar from all that kind of stuff. You've got to live it and love it to want to put on a party.
All right, well, we'll veer away from gangsters and what have you. So Tristan, you have an insight into our very dear and loved treasured friend Leon Avalon. Due to your double act Kilowatts and obviously knowing him for many years as have we, we'd love to ask a couple of questions on that. Number one,
on Leon,
or the double. Or your
we want the skinny on Leon.
Want the skinny. When sort of heading out from the hotel, you got a big gig. Who takes the most time to get ready at the hotel before leaving for a gig?
Well, I don't know how long he spends getting ready for his gig beforehand, but I'd tell you one thing about Leon. He is the most punctual person that I know.
Oh, yeah?
There are 2 types of DJs, one that you wait for and one that you don't. And there are the divas, who you're in the hotel waiting for the shuttle to the party or to the airport, and you're like, get your fucking arse in gear, we got to go. And they're kind of schmoozing down the staircase. Oh, one more spliff or whatever they're doing.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, Leon is always there.
Bloody professional,
waiting
on point.
In the lobby, total pro.
5 minutes early.
In the lobby.
5 minutes early.
He might have spent 4 hours putting his makeup on before,
sure.
but I'm not saying that. But he's always there on time. God bless him for that.
And say, for example, you're hanging out in the room together, you're getting your sets ready. Little pot of biscuits by the kettle. Who's the one who eats the most biscuits out of you two?
What kind of biscuits are the Garibaldi's or digestives?
Now you're asking.
It's those little coffee biscuits.
Come on, those little Romboots biscuits. That would be me. I reckon that would be me. Although, do you know what? I introduced Leon to coffee. He never drank coffee. I was like, are you insane? What do you mean you don't drink coffee? You're a studio guy. You got to stay up for until 4 in the morning.
How was he doing it before then?
Well, don't answer that.
I don't know.
Yeah, maybe don't answer that.
So I made him drink about 10 espressos in one session. And he went out and bought himself one of those machines. He's totally hooked now.
Amazing.
So, hands up.
Wife just left you? Credit card just been declined? Coming down off hard drugs? Try Allaby Bedders in bits.
Oh, Mark.
Oh, Matt. Coming up, we've got the final part of the wonderful Tristan interview, so don't go anywhere. But first,
we got an exclusive track to play.
This is really exciting.
From Captain Hook's new album, Origin. Yep. Released on, it will be released on Iboga at the end of this month, 29th of November.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I feel like there's some anticipation for this album.
Massively so.
It's like the hype's kind of building, and it's a whole mixture of things that I think's created that. The fact that he is a unique artist.
He's also quite old school in terms of the progressive trance scene, I would say.
Well, what do you mean by that?
So he started off on a label called Domo Records as part of a group called Quantize. Many years ago.
Which was a double act.
Yeah, double act. And they, it's back in the early days of progressive psychedelic trance, if you will. Sort of back when Perfect Stranger was launching, that kind of thing. And it was really sort of finding its sound, the progressive trance sound. And he was a big part of that and went on to create Captain Hook.
Well, he went on to, I met him, that was the first time I met him when he was part of Quantize. And we hit it off immediately, me and that boy. And he's a lovely, I've got to say, he's a lovely, sweet man. And he's always been experimental, which is what I always appreciated about him.
Yeah.
because he's, like I say, I think he's a top table producer, one of the big names, but he's always experimented. He's never been happy to just toe the party line and do what everyone else is doing.
100%.
He's always looked to do something different. And, you know, he went from Quantize to doing Chef, which was his techno project, which I was a big fan of. And then Captain Hook and his early stuff, he kind of experimented with bass music and stuff like that. Now, whether you like that or not, you know, it wasn't necessarily my cup of tea, but you have to appreciate that it was so different and it was experimental and he was out there doing that. And I love that.
And I think in progressive trance or progressive psychedelic trance, for me, someone who has played it over the years, it kind of has, in my opinion, hit a bit of a lull. And this album, you know, along with things like Human Element in the past year,
brilliant.
It kind of, that's what it meant to me with the music when I started. That's the feeling that I love when I listen to progressive psychedelic trance. And for me, when we listen through that album, it's got that all the way through.
It's very trippy. It's very warm and just lovely, fat and thick on the bottom end.
It's like we listened all the way through the album and we both commented. I don't know how often it is when I hear a trance album that I like all the way through.
All the way through.
And I was just like, oh God, it's so long since I've heard an album all the way through, every track.
Yes.
Massive.
The other thing that I wanted to say is, how great is it? Like someone who has actual big influence on this scene has gone this direction, because if you were about to release a new album and you obviously wanted to be in that kind of top table, you'd look at the top 10, you see your stuff
Timmy
up
Trumpet.
There. Okay, I wasn't going to mention any names, but sure. You see your names up there and you hear what's going on there with a break every 25 seconds and a big jazz hand,
Yeah,
all the stuff, it's all thrown in there. You might be tempted to be influenced by that. Not one bit.
Not one.
We're going to play one of those tracks now, totally unreleased. This is a world exclusive premiere. What are we going to play, Mark?
We're going to play a track entitled Frankie's Wish. This is a track that he made alongside two of my other favourites of the olden days, Lish. It's huge. Take your top off. Welcome to Big Boy Blues Car Sale. My name's Tex. Welcome to my car lot. I've been running this shit for 20 odd years. We got cars, all colors, all shapes, all sizes, for all people of all colors and creeds. Also, we got a mighty fine podcast by Allaby Bedders. Yeehaw!
It's been a wonderful interview, Tristan.
Yeah,
thank you very much.
Oh, bless you. Yeah, likewise. Love you guys.
I mean, we knew you'd be a cracking interview. You're just such a pro and just an all-round great geezer.
All-time great.
I did want to plug you on some of those, questions about the scene, because there's no one better to ask, really, and there's no one more honest and more sort of connected, I don't think, and able to give an honest, non-corporate answer, you know what I mean? So
yeah, well,
it's really good, but it wouldn't be an In Bits podcast interview without some silly, glib questions.
Well, I mean, we've already asked a couple.
Yeah. But we're going to do those now. Do you mind?
I will comply. Yeah, come on.
Have you ever had a look inside Rajaram's stash bag?
And if so, what's in there?
Well, it's no. Do you know what? I haven't actually seen inside his stash bag.
Fair enough.
Yeah. But, do you know, funnily enough, I'm going to give this a little plug. I'm doing a tune. Funny you should mention him. I am in the studio with him on Tuesday.
Yeah.
And when he's in the studio, basically he gets his volcano vaporizer and he blows this. He fills up this. Literally, it's like a Zeppelin, the size of this airbag. He fills full of thick kind of vapor.
Yeah.
Does the lot, inhales the lot, and then I just give him the microphone. I said, "Look, Raj, I want this next tune to be about like the meaning of life."
Yeah.
And I think his stash bag is his mind.
Amazing.
And when he opens up that mind, I tell you what, it's full of beautiful things. And he really is a fucking legend.
Of course he is.
And I love the way he thinks. I love he's an inspiration and a moral kind of psychedelic guru.
Well, he was a real legend.
He was
going
there
back.
the first time round, the first psychedelic revolution in the 60s. He was there and he's still
going.
there. So anyway, he empties the vape and then I give him the microphone and say, "Look, it's about the meaning of life, mate. I need some vocal quotes and some samples." And he'll just go for 10 minutes straight. and the stash bag of his, these gems that come out, and also he's hilarious. He's one of the funniest blokes you'll ever meet.
Is he really? I've not really had enough quality time with that man.
Fucking hilarious. It's wild. It is wild.
You must get a lot of free stuff sent to you now, like gear and clothes and stuff. What do you get sent? And can you hook us up with some of it? Are you getting some merch sent at this point?
Well, you're part of the Nano family, mate. You get the Nano hoodies and all that, just like we do.
The Nano booty, sure. Yeah. Lovely black
T-shirts
at the moment.
Do you know what I just got sent? Yeah. Do you know what I just got sent recently? There's a company called Slate Digital.
I love Slate Digital. I'm a subscriber to their subscription system.
Yeah. Well, they just sent me their entire software package for free.
Oh,
wow. Tristan's getting a better deal than you, mate.
Well, yeah, I'm paying for that package. He just got it sent for free.
Amazing.
Well, what they've asked for, and it's because their guy Kevin, he was at the ADE with us in Amsterdam, and he came to the party, and he was in a professional, personal capacity to come and meet people in the industry, and that's what that whole kind of event's about. And after, he said, yeah, we love what you do, and we'd love you to kind of beta test some stuff for us, and whilst you're at it, here's the whole kind of back catalogue of stuff, and we've got this new synth that we've brought out, and we'd love you to muck around with it and write some presets.
Slate has this,
and yeah.
Really? I didn't know that. So you're doing a preset. Yeah. You're doing presets for the synthesizer.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Well, they've asked. They said no pressure. They haven't given it to us. Said you have to do this part of the deal. They said we want you to have it and just give us your feedback. And if you want to do some presets, then great.
I tell you what, mate, that Slate package. I've been using it for about a year now, and it's absolutely fantastic. It replaced the UAD for me.
Wow,
it's really, really good. And because it runs natively, you're not reliant on the sort of DSP and a UAD card. And
are you all following listeners right now?
Sorry about the geekiness here, but
are you two forgetting this is a radio show?
You should absolutely get into it. Because sometimes when you get given stuff for free, it's easy to overlook it. But I've been using it religiously.
No, I will not take that one for granted either. Good. I'm happy to hear you say that. So that's it.
Awesome. Tristan, when you're playing your gigs, do you have a rider? And if so, what is the most ostentatious item on that rider?
Well, do you know what? I've been thinking about asking for in hot countries.
Yeah.
It's become a bit of a cliche now that I take my shirt off during gigs. Can I just say this? In case this was part of your glib, in case you had this lined up.
Yes, it was the next question.
You did, didn't you? You did, didn't you? About the shirt coming off. Well, it's not in the contract. It's not in the contract. It's not meant to be part of the show either. Genuinely, I get hot.
Yeah,
and
man.
I sweat.
Totally.
And when I take it off and I get the fresh air, I'm like, I'm free now. Yeah. I'm absolutely free. Woo! I can have it.
So what, a fan?
But you can get sweaty on stage when in Israel or Brazil. I was thinking about asking for a towel on the rider. Like, give us a nice big fluffy towel.
Lovely.
That I can,
like a tennis
keep myself nice and fresh with.
Yeah, if Roger Federer has it.
Yeah, true.
That's lovely. Yeah, we did have I actually wasn't going to ask it in the end, but we did have a question on there. Like, would it be possible to do a set with your shirt on?
No, if tastefully,
because you're making us all look bad.
Yeah.
I say keep the air conditioning on and the shirt will stay on. But anyway, as I said to you on your Instagram, and I've been following your posts and all that. I'm really enjoying your brother fair that you're having.
Oh,
you two, and I'll take my shirt off and come and join in at some point.
Lovely. I mean, we'll all take our shirts off and we'll have a bloody good hug.
Well, Mark came up and gave me the biggest hug. What did you say, Mark? Mark said, I've heard that if you give me a hug, I'm going to feel that everything's all right.
Yeah.
What was it, Mark? You said, go on.
Well, I think
it's on the podcast.
Is that the beginning of the Noisily special podcast? I think I said I just want Tristan to hold me. I think I just feel like everything's going to be okay.
Unless I haven't got my shirt on.
And I believe I did that. Yeah. I believe I did that at Chrysalid. I came up to you and made you hold me. So thank you.
I mean, you do give
anytime
a sterling hug. One of the best huggers on the scene, as well as musicians and DJs and wonderful.
Big hug.
Just all
big
around
hug
person.
Is important, isn't it?
It really is. Yeah.
Shall we all hug now? Or?
Let's all hug.
Let's have a kind of a virtual group hug. And to anyone that's listening,
and we hug you as
massive
well.
hug
Big
going
hugs.
out to you.
Well, thank you so much for filling our podcast with not only wisdom but warmth and compassion and knowledge and all of those lovely things. Because it normally is a little bit glib and sarcastic, but it's got bloody good music.
It does indeed.
So,
and do you know what? I'm loving the fact that you guys are doing it and, you know, representing the UK kind of...
Thank you. We want to be a bit different with our questions as well and just get, ask a few things that we don't hear being asked.
And it is very English, and the humour that we have. But also there's something about, the quality of stuff. The scene in the UK... We struggle to have the outdoor events that they have in other parties because of health and safety and the small island that
and the weather
island that we live on and the weather and all that. But somehow we've got such a massively strong musical presence on the global scene, and it's important that we connect. On as many different ways, because we don't have the dance floor to connect on, and that's the place where we all kind of get together. So if we can do it virtually and share our vibes and our thoughts and our psychedelic kind of, we can cross-pollinate, then I'm up for that.
Have you got anything to plug, mate? And we'd love to play a track. If you've got a track coming up that we could play.
Yeah, you've got an upcoming track, haven't you? I think I heard mention.
I mean, if we can't play it, I mean, I can edit this bit out.
No, of course. I've got, Summer Solstice was the last one. I've got another I'll give you a little bit of background.
Go on.
Before this summer, and this summer was one of the greatest psychedelic trance summers of all time, in my humble opinion. There's so many festivals, so much quality going on out there. And for me personally as well, it was 20 years of Boom, and I played the very first Boom, and they teed up my set as the 20-year Boom set on the last day, 4 hours. It was a huge honor, and and I was playing a closing one of the days at the Azora, as well as many others, but those two obviously are the kind of the big guns of the calendar. And I said, yeah, I'd love to do it. And then about a month before those events, I was like, Christ, what have I let myself in for? 4 hours live set. Oh my God.
That is a stretch, isn't it? That is a real stretch.
It was. So I had to dig deep. So I just buried myself in the studio. I took the whole of June off.
Yep.
Which is the best time in England. You've got Glastonbury and the Summer Solstice, and just being in the UK at that time. And I was really inspired, which is where the track Summer Solstice came from. Amazing. And then beforehand as well, I thought, this psychedelic trance scene, I feel like it's one gigantic psytrance family that we're a part of.
Yeah.
So I wrote Summer Solstice, and I wrote another track called Psytrance Family.
Lovely.
And I'd like to play that for you guys. And that's coming out on Nano quite soon. Another plug that I would give is we are doing a Kilowatts remix album. And what we've done is we have chosen the choicest of the
creme de la creme.
Well, the creme of the underground psychedelic scene.
Wow.
All those guys that are kind of
grinding it out.
So you're talking about
grinding it out.
Maybe the Nigels of this world.
Spot on, Nigel.
Nailed it.
Love you, brother.
Nailed it.
Totally.
Nailed it.
Yeah, you've hit the nail on the head with that one. So that kind of vibe, those guys who are really, they're the engine room of the scene. All the inspiring stuff is happening at the core.
Well, as we're recording right now, there's the Bomb Shanker 11-year anniversary party tonight.
In Bristol.
Shout out to the Bomb Shanker
I hope
guys.
everyone has a blast there. I'd love to go, but I'm going to Sastra, who is Lucas, DJ Lucas, his wife, and Raja Ram's daughter, her 50th birthday. In a farm, we're going to have a mad party in a farmhouse in the West Country here. So after this interview, I'm going to scoff some food down and go and hit a dance floor. I've got the weekend off. Yay!
Well, you deserve it.
Will you just round off this interview and please introduce your track, and then we'll play it straight after the interview. Thank you very much, Tristan.
Thank you so much, Tristan. We love you, man.
Love you, Matt. Love you, Mark. Keep doing it. Hi, this is Tristan, and this is my next release coming up on Nano Records. It's called Psytrance Family. I hope you think that you're part of that family, because it's a beautiful one, and we're here for the long haul. Enjoy it. Have a blast. Turn it up loud. Lots of love.
One and two in the place in the face. Allaby Bedders Breakfast Show.
Matt.
Yes, mate.
You're a musician.
Some would say.
Yeah, one of my faves, actually.
Thank you very much.
So you know, everyone knows. How early do you remember starting getting into music?
4 years old.
4 years old.
My mum had an amazing Beatles collection. I used to run home from...
The Beatles.
The Beatles.
Oh.
Run home from whatever it was. What's it?
Cubs.
Nursery.
Beaver Scouts.
I used to sit in front of that record player. We had one of those top
Record
load...
player? Did you grow up in the 50s?
Well, I was born in the 70s. Is that bad?
Oh, you were, weren't you?
Yeah. We had a top-loading record player. Do you remember those?
Yes.
Do you?
Yeah, I do.
You stack it up on an arm, each record, and the arm would move out the way and drop a record onto the plate, and then the stylus would come across and play. So it was like a jukebox. So he used to stack Beatles records up. And I used to sit cross-legged in front of that record player and listen to the Beatles. That was my music, my education.
Yeah, your coming of age.
4 or 5 years old, as long as I can remember being alive.
What time what point in your life did you start making, or playing instruments, whatever?
Not till
you were
I
in
was
a band,
11.
weren't you? 11?
Yeah,
okay.
Drums at 11. But please, enough about me.
Yeah, well, your beautiful daughter, who just turned 1 recently.
God bless her.
What a wonderful birthday party that was.
Lovely, thanks for coming.
It was a lovely day out. And she gave me a lovely hug, didn't she?
She did, didn't she?
It was lovely.
Very rare.
So she's already showing signs of being a musical genius.
I'll tell you what, she loves trance.
Yeah.
I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. But...
I remember, about 6 months ago, you phoning me and telling me that you'd played bits of music that you'd made in the studio, and she was bouncing up and down, and you phoned me, she's bouncing up and down.
Yeah, I've since realised though, I was over the moon about that, I've since realised I could play her pretty much anything.
Yeah.
And she will just start bouncing up and down. She loves music.
Yeah. Well, listen, we might be in the perfect time to channel and hone that natural talent as early as we can.
Tell me more.
Okay. A composer and DJ from Brooklyn by the name of Natalie Weiss has started up a DJ school for babies.
Wonderful.
In New York.
I mean, this was just waiting to happen, wasn't it?
I know, right? So for a mere $200, and for us a flight to America, she's willing to teach the youngsters as young as 3 months old about the wonderful worlds of electro, hip-hop, house and techno.
Right, there's a problem there.
Okay.
A 3-month-old is more likely to just throw up on you.
Okay. Well, listen, here's the thing. A lot of DJs are as well.
Yeah, okay. That's true. Fair point. That is a fair point. Yeah. Please continue. Yeah.
They all talk shit. They all throw up on each other.
They all smear feces on the walls. We've all done it. Yeah, go on.
So her press release promises that the little ones will be introduced to playing and handling records, mixing and matching beats, and creating fun and funky samples using modern DJ equipment.
Okay.
Having equipment that they can use early is also key. That means a laptop, a sound card, and a MIDI trigger. Would you use your lovely daughter? Would you let your lovely daughter use that equipment?
My equipment?
Yeah.
No.
Maybe get the.
I have actually. She's had a play on my MIDI controller and stuff. But,
No, has she really?
Yeah, of course.
Well, not the SH-101 that we got for your 40th.
No, I won't be letting go near that anytime soon.
Good. Yeah, so I mean, the advice that they give on the website of this course is that they keep drinks far away. When adults have drinks, you want to keep the laptop far away, and the same very much applies to sippy cups and spillages.
Sure.
So, what are your thoughts? Should we get the flights booked and maybe get her enrolled in this DJ school?
I'm sceptical.
You're sceptical. What, of your daughter's talents?
Not at all. I don't know. I also think that the sort of area that we live in, there's probably some kind of school that's doing a similar thing around here. No?
I don't know. Maybe. We should look it up.
Start one.
Oh my God.
Allaby Bedders baby school.
Come on. DJ creche.
Let's get this going.
I mean, bog standard childminders charge what, £20 an hour?
Yeah, Allaby Bedders DJ school for babies.
Amazing.
Would you pass the that test that they give you to determine whether you can work with children?
100% yes.
Yes,
I have
me
my
too.
own child.
Okay.
I would like, for legal reasons, yes.
I'm Gerard the Labrador. My master and mistress have just had what's called an orgy at our house. I'm listening to Allaby Bedders to help take my mind off what just happened. Woof.
Oh, Mark, what we're going to play next, mate?
This is a track from pretty much my all-time favourite DJ, Dinox.
Oh, I love Dinox.
Oh my God. Dinox and Beckers are two of my favourite, acts of all times. This is a track from Dinox and Khalil. It's coming out on Outer Limits. In fact, it's literally just been released. So honestly, go out and buy it. It's amazing.
Wonderful.
This track is called The Seed.
Please play it to me.
I'm aroused.
Hey guys, me again. I'm in Las Vegas enjoying the bright lights. Turns out last night was pretty crazy. I had a few drinks, perhaps a couple of sheets of acid. I'm now married to a beautiful Mexican lady called Juan Pablo. We're very much in love, and we're looking forward to adopting our first baby dolphin together. Viva Las Vegas, guys!
Viva Las Vegas! Viva Las Vegas!
Oh, Marky, that was a podcast.
Oh, amazing.
Oh, it's another one done.
Epic.
We'll be back with a Christmas special next
Yay!
month.
Jingle bells.
We've already got some plans for that.
Yep.
We should say thanks to Tristan.
Thank you, Tristan.
For a wonderful
Thank you so
interview.
much. Amazing interview.
And also to Captain Hook for the exclusive. And we hope you buy the album because it's a wonderful experience. Let's do some plugs.
Get your plugs out.
You can follow Allaby Music across all social media and also Allaby Bedders. And let's not forget, Mark, this podcast is produced by a little company called Ideal Noise. You can find us idealnoise.com, Ideal Noise on Facebook. We can help you out with all sorts of mixing needs, anything to do with music production. We've got services there. Maybe you just need to make your track sound more awesome. We'll help you with that. And to end the show, Mark, to keep up the quality of music
Oh my God.
that we've had
It's been
so far
a
on this
pure
podcast.
quality stream of
We've
music.
got another unreleased track. It's out
Yeah.
the 16th,
16th
of November.
yeah.
And this is by our friend John Monkman.
Yeah.
I've played this track a couple of times over the summer, Mark, and it's never not delivered.
No.
It's coming out on Ellum, which is Macioplex's label.
Yeah, we're both welling up at this one. It's a big one.
It's a huge one.
Yeah.
And we're very excited to play this to you. This is Tune In, Turn Out by John Monkman. Have a great month, and we'll see you in bits.
This record is a message.
Dude. Ask me something, Mark.
No, I'm going to try and do this. Matt.
Yeah.
It's... Fucking cunt.